Welcome back to this ITIL4 Foundation training course, brought to you by Technopundits Knowledge Solutions. Now that we have some idea about what ITIL is all about, it's time to look at the framework of ITIL. The ITIL4 framework is built on established ITSM practices and expands itself to the wider context of customer experience, value streams and digital transformation, as well as embracing new ways of working, such as Lean, Agile, and DevOps. ITIL4 has a host of new characteristics which are built into the ITIL framework, and they include presentation of a holistic view rather than a process focus, the service value system comprising of guiding principles, governance, service value chain, ITIL practices, continual service improvement, and the 4 dimensions model. Module 2. Learning Unit 1. The Service Value System. The Service Value System. Overview. The ITIL Service Value System facilitates integration and coordination of various organizational components and activities and provides a strong, unified value-focused direction for the organization. The core components of the ITIL SVS are the ITIL Service Value Chain, the ITIL Practices, the ITIL Guiding Principles, Governance and Continual Improvement. For service management to function properly, it needs to work as a system. The ITIL SVS describes the inputs to this system, which is opportunity and demand, the elements of this system, and the outputs, which is achievement of organizational objectives and value for the organization, its customers, and other stakeholders. Opportunities represent options or possibilities to add value for stakeholders or otherwise improve the organization. Demand is the need or desire for products and services among internal and external consumers. The ITIL SVS describes how all the components and activities of the organization work together as a system to enable value creation. Each organization's service value system has interfaces with other organizations, forming an ecosystem that can in turn facilitate value for those organizations, their customers, and other stakeholders. The purpose of the service value system is to ensure that the organization continually co-creates value with all stakeholders through the use and management of products and services. Guiding principles. Recommendations that can guide an organization in all circumstances, regardless of changes in its goals, strategies, type of work, or management structure. Governance. The means by which an organization is directed and controlled. Service value chain. So the service value chain is a set of interconnected activities that an organization performs to deliver a valuable product or service to its consumers and to facilitate value realization. Practices. By definition, the practices are sets of organizational resources designed for performing work or accomplishing an objective. Continual improvement. A recurring organizational activity performed at all levels to ensure that an organization's performance continually meets stakeholders' expectations. ITIL4 supports continual improvement with the ITIL Continual Improvement Model. Module 2. Learning Unit 2. The 4 Dimensions of Service Management. The 4 Dimensions of Service Management. Organizations create value for its stakeholders through the provision and consumption of services. The ITIL-SVS describes the ways in which the various components and activities of an organization work together to create this value. To achieve their desired outcomes and work as effectively as possible, organizations should consider all aspects of their resources, as none of these when considered in isolation are sufficient to produce the required outcomes. In practice, however, organizations often become too focused on one area of their initiatives and neglect the others. ITIL4 defines the kinds of resources that allow an organization to create value. These resources have been grouped together into 4 groups or dimensions referred to as organizations and people, information and technology, partners and suppliers, and value streams and processes. These 4 dimensions have not been listed in any order of priority. The 4 dimensions of service management support a holistic approach to service management, and are relevant to, and impact upon, all elements of the ITIL-SVS. Failing to address all 4 dimensions properly may result in services becoming undeliverable, or not meeting expectations of quality or efficiency. For example, failing to consider the value streams and processes dimension holistically can lead to wasteful work, duplication of efforts, or worse, work that conflicts with what is being done elsewhere in the organization. Equally, ignoring the partners and suppliers dimension could mean that outsourced services are misaligned with the needs of the organization. The 4 dimensions do not have sharp boundaries and may overlap. They will sometimes interact in unpredictable ways, depending on the level of complexity and uncertainty in which an organization operates. It is important to note that the 4 dimensions of service management apply to all services being managed, as well as to the service value system in general. It is therefore essential that these perspectives should be considered for every service, and that each one should be addressed when managing and improving the SVS at all levels. Organizations and people. The first dimension of service management is organizations and people. The organization and people dimension of a service covers roles and responsibilities, formal organizational structures, culture, and required staffing and competencies, all of which are related to the creation, delivery, and improvement of a service. It is important that roles, responsibilities, and systems of authority and communication are well defined. They need to support the overall strategy and operating model. When looking at this dimension in relation to the ITIL-SVS, the focus should be on the same aspects, but in the context of the organization acting as a service provider. Information and technology. The second dimension of service management is information and technology and applies both to service management and to the services being managed. The information and technology dimension, when applied to the SVS, includes the information and knowledge necessary for the management of services, as well as the technologies required. Service management increasingly benefits from developments in technology. The technologies that support service management include, but are not limited to, workflow management systems, knowledge bases, inventory systems, communication systems, analytical tools, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and other cognitive computing solutions are used at all levels, from strategic planning and portfolio optimization to system monitoring and user support. The use of mobile platforms, cloud solutions, remote collaboration tools, automated testing, and deployment solutions has become common practice among service providers. In relation to the information component of this dimension, organizations should consider the following questions. 1. What information is managed by the services? 2. What supporting information and knowledge are needed to deliver and manage the services? 3. How will the information and knowledge assets be protected, managed, archived, and disposed of? For many services, information management is the primary means of enabling customer value. Another key consideration in this dimension is how information is exchanged between different services and service components. The challenges of information management, such as those presented by security and regulatory compliance requirements, are also a focus of this dimension. For example, the European Union's General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR, will influence its information management policies and practices. When considering a technology for use in the planning, design, transition, or operation of a product or service, questions an organization may ask include: compatibility with the current architecture of the organization and its customers, impact of emerging technologies, machine learning, AI, and IoT, regulatory or other compliance issues, future viability, risk of aging technology vs emerging unproven technology, strategic alignment, adequate training to use technology, automation capabilities. Does this technology introduce new risks or constraints to the organization? The culture of an organization may also have an impact on the information and technology dimension. Some organizations may be using cutting-edge technology, whereas another may be focused on a more traditional way of working. One company may be excited to take advantage of artificial intelligence technologies, while another may barely be ready for advanced data analysis tools. Partners and suppliers. The third dimension of service management is partners and suppliers. The partners and suppliers dimension encompasses an organization's relationships with other organizations that are involved in the design, development, deployment, delivery, support and/or continual improvement of services. It also incorporates contracts and other agreements between the organization and its partners or suppliers. Relationships between organizations may involve various levels of integration and formality. This ranges from formal contracts to flexible partnerships. An organization's strategy when it comes to using partners and suppliers should be based on its goals, culture and business environment. Value streams and processes. Now let's look at the final dimension, which is value streams and processes. Value streams and processes define the activities, workflows, controls, and procedures needed to achieve agreed objectives. Applied to the organization and its SVS, the value streams and processes dimension is concerned with how the various parts of the organization work in an integrated and coordinated way to enable value creation through products and services. The dimension focuses on what activities the organization undertakes and how they are organized, as well as how the organization ensures that it is enabling value creation for all stakeholders efficiently and effectively. Applied to the organization and its SVS, the value streams and processes dimension is concerned with how the various parts of the organization work in an integrated and coordinated way to enable value creation through products and services. The dimension focuses on what activities the organization undertakes and how they are organized, as well as how the organization ensures that it is enabling value creation for all stakeholders efficiently and effectively. Identifying and understanding the various value streams an organization has is critical to improving its overall performance. Structuring the organization's service and product portfolios around value streams allows it to have a clear picture of what it delivers and how, and to make continual improvements to its services. Organizations should examine how they perform work and map all the value streams they can identify. This will enable them to analyze their current state and identify any barriers to workflow and non-value-adding activities. Wasteful activities should be eliminated to increase productivity. Service providers do not operate in isolation. They are affected by many external factors, and work in dynamic and complex environments that can exhibit high degrees of volatility and uncertainty and impose constraints on how the service provider can work. To analyze these external factors, frameworks such as the PESTLE model are used. PESTLE is an acronym for the political, economic, social, technological, legal, and environmental factors that constrain or influence how a service provider operates. Collectively, these factors influence how organizations configure their resources and address the 4 dimensions of service management. For example, government and societal attitudes towards environmentally friendly products and services may result in the organization investing more in tools and technologies that meet external expectations. An organization may choose to partner with other organizations who can demonstrate environmentally friendly credentials. For example, some companies publish product environmental reports that describe their products' performance against their policies around climate change, safer materials, and other resources. Economic and societal factors may influence organizations to create several versions of the same product to address various consumer groups that show different buying patterns. One example is music and video streaming services, many of which have a free tier with advertising, a premium tier without advertising, and in some cases a family plan that allows multiple individual profiles under one paid-for account. Data protection laws or regulations, like GDPR, have changed how companies must collect, process, access, and store customer data, as well as how they work with external partners and suppliers.
Thank you for listening. Hope you learned something important today. If you need more information on ITIL4, feel free to drop us a message on WhatsApp. Our number is 99620065887. You can be from any part of the world. You can even email us at contact@technopundits.in.